Let's talk about Bengals Chiefs because we did kind of allude to it earlier. Again, I do not think that the Bengals are second class citizens in the AFC. They've already beat the Chiefs before. That being said, it's a very hard to reproduce result because when you look at how they beat the Chiefs, it was a lot of fades down the right boundary where they would get one-on-ones with Jamar or one-on-ones with T. Higgins. I have to imagine the Chiefs are going into this game and knowing like, hey, okay, Ward and Fenton can't cover Jamar Chase. They're going to get posted up. So we're going to play cover two. We're going to have a deep half safety there every single time. We're going to play one double if we really need to on third down. And we're just not going to let Jamar Chase be one-on-one. Like, that's their goal, is just don't let it be one-on-one. Let the corners play trail and sag underneath with a safety over the top and make Joe Burrow beat them with something other than a 9-route down the boundary. Because guess what? A 9-route down the boundary is something you can take 3 steps, plant, and throw, where your offensive line is taken a little bit out of the equation. If you make him take 3 steps, plant, read it, see the safeties over there, and then he has to turn back to the backside dig, he's already hit. Their offensive line isn't good enough. So for me, it's take Jamar Chase away and make him go from 1 to 2, because that's enough time for him to go from 1 to 2 where I think Chris Jones is getting a sack. Just speed up the clock. Take away that first option. It really doesn't even have to be just Chase. Like, take away whatever the first option on the play is, because they can't block him long enough to get to 2 and 3. And more often than not, they're probably going to get home. That's at least, I know it sounds like a very simplistic game plan, but like, we're just looking at talent versus talent here. They can't block Frank Clark or Chris Jones or all those guys. We talked about it earlier. Just take away the first option, unlike last time where they didn't take away the first option, and they'll probably be a lot more successful.
There's one thing I want to see before I sort of definitively put my foot in the ground about this game, and it's the injury status report on Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, the concussion was a big deal for sure.
Tyrann Mathieu with a concussion, and if you look at Josh Allen's passing chart, I think it was Kay Adams that said, "Look, there's a Tyrann Mathieu-sized hole in the middle of that thing where all these throws are going." And if he has that option, guys like Boyd and even Mixon on a Texas route are going to be able to be the quick second option. Like, he can look at that 3 steps and say, are they bracketing Jamar? Are they doubling Jamar straight up? Like, and if they are, he can look towards that inside option. And look, Nick Bolton was on fire coming forward in this game. Like, he was a terror coming forward. You give me Nick Bolton against Boyd, Mixon in space.
Yeah, it's when Bolton has to go backwards that's the issue.
Even maybe Uzama, I would call that a draw, but the other two, I would call it a clear win. And we've talked about it. Burrow will find that option, especially short over the middle. And Mathieu is the guy that would make that very dangerous or just totally untenable. If he's not there, they're going to have to do something else because their corners are not as good as the Bengal wide receivers.
Not even close.
Their defensive line is way better than the Bengals' offensive line, but their corners are not even close to as good as Chase or Higgins. And they know that, so they're going to have to shade their safety coverage, certainly to Jamar's side first, but a couple big throws to Higgins on, again, that aforementioned 9 route down the sideline, and they're going to have to shift up. And then it doesn't matter if you shift on that wide receiver bias or balance, because if Matthew's not there in the middle, you can go to Uzama, you can go to Boyd, you can go to Mixon on that nice little angle route, Texas route, whatever you want to call it. Like, if he has that option open to him, that's a quick throw coming off, they're covered. And I don't care which receiver he goes to on the outside or tries to. That's going to be a big difference because, again, it allows him to get the ball out quick, and we know he's going to have to do that because Melvin Ingram, Clark, Jones, you name it, even Jerron Reed, can create that pressure. So he's going to need that quick option. And if he's got it without one of the premier sort of everything middle space defenders in the NFL, their chances to come out with a W go up a little bit.
I think the one thing the Bengals can do here, because one of the Chiefs' favorite coverages is they start out in a single high look, and Daniel Sorensen's kind of hanging around the box, and Matthew's in the slot, and then all of a sudden Sorensen bails to get to a deep half, and Matthew goes to the deep middle. They basically play Tampa 2 coverage, but you have Matthew as basically playing the same role as like Brian Urlacher, with that kind of range where he's the middle dropper. If you can get them into that coverage, or rather, if they're going to be running that coverage against a certain look, and you kind of use Jamar Chase as your sacrificial lamb, you go into like a 3-by-1 look, Jamar Chase is isolated, the safety's going to be expanding because they fucking have to at this point. They cannot leave him one-on-one or he's going to beat him. So that safety's expanding that way, Matthew's going to be playing the deep middle, and then you got Daniel Sorensen in the deep half. Well, how that coverage functions is if you can overload with 3 threats. Again, we're talking about a 3-by-1 here. Number 3 to the inside is just running Matthew to the other side of the field. And then you've got Daniel Sorensen kind of trying to midpoint T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd deep down the field. There's money to be made there.
Good luck.
Good money. I mean, they got him almost the same way last time, except it was Jamar Chase, and he just ran right by him. They basically gave a little bit of bait to the corner to come down and trap it, and then Sorensen was like, okay, I'm just going to try to run with Jamar Chase here. Didn't work out very well. I don't think they're going to fall for that again, so you're going to have to do it with T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is great too. If they're going to get a big play, I think that's how they're going to do it, is they're going to try to pick on Daniel Sorensen and overload him with 2 threats and make him choose. Again, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but if it was me, that's what I would at least try, because if there's one guy that I can pick on in that defense, it's Daniel Sorensen.
Well, the other one I really want to see, I 100% agree that if I'm drawing that up on Cincinnati's offense, I want as many of those choice routes for Sorensen as I can generate. The other one is on quote unquote obvious rundowns. I want to get Mixon out on wheel routes against Bolton. If you can get Mixon against Bolton matched up, I'll take Mixon 9 times out of 10 down the field in the pass route. And Mixon, not a great receiver, but absolutely a functional one, and faster than Bolton, faster and quicker. So I like that matchup, and I'm not going to go to it 5 or 10 times. Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to it 3 or 4 times when I've set it up with something else, and I want to get Mixon on a wheel, right? I want to see if Bolton can hang with Mixon, and the answer is he can't. Not for more than a second or two, and that's going to be really close territory to Chris Jones just eating Burrow. But again, if he can spin out, generate a little bit of time, Mixon's going to be free down the field against Bolton. If you can get him in obvious rundowns, and then really go to a pass, I'd like to see it.
It's going to be a fascinating game.
Of course.
Again, not ruling out the Bengals at all because they have Joe Burrow and they have all those weapons. It just comes down to how's the offensive line play? Like, that is the entire game. How does the offensive line play? If they play even average, honestly, Bengals might win this thing. If they play like themselves, I don't know. Might get a little bit rough.
If the Bengals fail to counterpunch at Arrowhead, it's over. We saw Arrowhead in full throat on Sunday night, and if Mahomes and offense go down and score as expected, and the Bengals come back and get a field goal, and Mahomes and the offense go down and score as expected, and it's 14-3, and the Bengals come back and they put together 6 or 7 plays, but just barely get across half field and have to punt or try a long field goal and miss or whatever, and then KC comes back and scores again, even if it's a field goal at that point, you're up 20-3 in Arrowhead with it just absolutely rocking, looking at a trip to the Super Bowl on the line.
Good luck.
Yeah, not loving that. That place is hard to hear yourself think when it's going off.